Well, hello, brothers and sisters. Welcome back to Proverbs chapter 2, the voice of our Father to us, calling us to chase after, to fight for wisdom. And by doing that, we'll get great rewards, like a deeper intimacy with the God who is wisdom itself. But also protection. Protection from, well, the apostate. The way we can see it, it is truly somebody who knew the truth and then walked away and wants to pull us in that direction. We're going to find out another reward being protection against another type of person, a very dangerous person. But I think there's even more than just this dangerous person. We're going to see that as we look at this. These technically last two rewards, one greater than the other. So let's look at that together. Again, chase after this great wisdom, understanding, right reasoning, thoughts of God. So you will be delivered from the forbidden woman, from the adulteress with her smooth words. A forbidden woman, or more literally, the stranger, makes us think of pagan, Gentiles, non-believers. Yet, as we'll move along, we'll see she does seem to be a believer, or at least part of the believing family, but she walked away like the other person, right? The apostate. It kind of shows you, even though you call yourself a child of God, a part of His believing people, if you're walking against His commandments, against His calling and His truth, you're nothing more than a stranger, than a Gentile, than an unbeliever. And we said that even in the New Testament. This is not just about Proverbs. You see it in the New Testament again and again, being warned from Paul, James, and others, John, saying a life that is against God's will, God's commandments, against law, testifies that maybe you're not a believer, but still a son of Satan. But I digress. This person is dangerous. She's a seductress. When you see it, her point is not just to live in sin, she wants to bring us into it. Yet we will be delivered, rescued from it through wisdom, by truth, understanding, knowing God's mind and living it out. He will continue to describe this woman, so we'll see the danger of who she is. He's going to say, who? She forsakes the companion of her youth and forgets the covenant of her cause. This is where we see it. God says, no adultery. It's in the Ten Commandments. And there was a covenant with Israel saying, you'll follow these commandments. She broke that. She broke that and she forsook. So she was with this companion, even better, leader, probably referring to her husband, that she forsook that. She abandoned that. She turned away from it, just like the other person before. She is very dangerous. And this is, we're going to start seeing how it's probably even more than just the woman and sexual sin that's in view here. And he's going to say, for, here's why she's dangerous, her house sinks down to death, and her path to the departed. Again, for, this is why she forsook, she broke, she turned away from God's covenant, because. And then we see that the repetition going on here, right? Her house sinks down to death. Her path, again, way of life, just like her house, the way of life is with the departed, the dead. She is of the dead. She is of those who aren't believers or regenerate, if you will, use New Testament language. That's her reality. This is what she's part of. That's why she rebelled against God's law and forsook her husband, because she's of the dead one. This is where we see it seems to be more than just she wants to seduce you into sexual sin. She wants to pull you down into Hades, where she comes from and is still living right now. There's even more toxicity to this woman. Here's the last part of who she is. None who go to her come back, nor do they regain the path of life. See, I kept saying that it's more than just sexual sin and seductress. the fact that he speaks of not coming back, not being able to repent, that's the same word here in Hebrew, same word for repent, or be able to regain the path of life, life itself, really seems to speak far greater than just falling into sexual sin or being pulled away from, to such extent that you've apostatized, just like what the other guy wanted to do. And we're going to see it when he hits that last of the rewards. It's probably where he's going with this. Again, yes, it is about being protected from those trying to seduce us into sin, sexual sin or any kind of sin, rebellion against God, but it's so much more than just sin itself. So again, we are now at the last reward for chasing after wisdom. And it is, so you will walk in the way of the good and keep the path of the righteous. Not being perfect, but in the old covenant, you had sacrifices for sins. So you tried to live according to God's law, but there were sacrifices when you didn't, when you failed. That's what made you righteous in that sense. For us, we try to walk for God, and we have Christ's blood that covers us. We confess and repent, as John tells us in 1 John, and we restore with God. No more animal sacrifices, but still, we try to walk upright. That's it of righteousness here. And we see the repetition, right? The way of walking, the way of life is good. Their path, again, the way of life, the way of walk is righteousness. Wisdom will tell us how to live in a way that honors God. This is more of the great reward for chasing after these truths. It is also protection. For the upright will inhabit the land, and those with integrity will remain in it. It will keep you from being pulled away. Remember what she was trying to do? Remember what he's trying to do? Pull us away. When you walk in this narrow way of God's way, in the light, well, you'll be kept from being removed. You will remain. This is part of God's great covenant promises at Mount Sinai. That's why I say this is more than just the seductress and sexual sin. This is about how sin itself is trying to seduce and pull you away from God himself. The blessing was about if you obey, again, there's sacrifices when you sin. If you obeyed everything God said, then you will remain in the land. But on the flip side, though, and finally, but the wicked will be cut off from the land, and the treacherous will be rooted out of it. That was the curses that came for disobedience. There was the blessings if you obeyed, but there were curses if not. And we saw Israel live through that, the Babylonian captivity. They were literally uprooted for 70 years. And then when they came to rebuild, it was never as great as it could have been. And all that because they didn't take these call to live rightly seriously. To think that we're exempt because we're not under the old covenant is not to understand what he's trying to say here, this father to us, the children. We are to chase after God's mind and heart and will, which is in his word, and to live according to it. To stay in the light, on the narrow path. If you love me, you will keep my commandments. And this will keep us from falling away because there is that reality. It is talked about in the New Testament as well. It's not about sinning away your salvation. This is about being pulled away and demonstrating that you were always of the dead ones, like she was, like he was. May this be a good reminder of us, for us. The real dangers that are out there, and the real call for us to remain chasing after God's wisdom. On this note, brothers and sisters, be blessed.